What is up? It's NFL Week 16. It is the Fantasy Football Playoff semifinals. And if you made it here streaming, pat yourself on the back. Congratulations. This is what it's all about. Let's go get you a championship. I'm Ryan Weisse, and this is Club Fantasy's Top 5 Streams of the Week. If you're new to this video, thanks for tuning in this late, but I'm going to give you a quick recap of what I do. I'm going to give you my top 5 streaming options at quarterback, tight end, and defense, all available in 50% or more Yahoo leagues as of Wednesday after waivers have run. So these are players that should be out there for you to go grab right now. And that's the goal with streaming, that you're not blowing waiver priority, you're not blowing fab, you can get them for free. Obviously, it's quite late in the season, so if you're just joining me for the first time, tune in next season. But let's recap what I did last week. It wasn't the best week. It wasn't the worst week. It was pretty mediocre. But when you consider how much of a train wreck Week 15 was, I think mediocre passes as very good at this point. You scored 30 fantasy points if you started my top 3 players. Tua hit at quarterback. Actually had a pretty solid week. Took a little garbage time, but he got there. However, Jared Cook just missed. The Cleveland Browns just hit. All in all, 2 quarterbacks hit, 2 tight ends, and 3 defenses hit. So again, there were a lot of misses, but there were a lot of misses all around in Week 15. But if you started the top 3 guys, 30 fantasy points, and honestly, that probably turned out quite well for you. We're going to start with quarterback this week, and I'm going to start with almost a disclaimer, a warning. This might be my sketchiest stream of the week list ever. I don't feel great about any of these guys putting my playoff hopes in their hands. If you're here and you have to do it, by all means. And we're going to give you some good players. I just might not have the most sound reasoning. I put in the work. I did my full projections, and these are the guys who came out on top, who were available in 50% of leagues. The issue is inactive teams aren't churning players, and other teams are hoarding players to keep away from their opponents. So there's a lot of players that just aren't hitting that 50% rostership. If this video is said and done and you still have questions, we are going to be doing a live show tonight at 7 o'clock just to answer semifinal fantasy start-sit questions. We normally do this show on Saturday, but we're doing things a little out of order because of the holiday. Now, let's finally get to quarterback. Number 5 is going to be Jared Goff taking on the Atlanta Falcons. It's hard to trust Goff. I completely get it. He did throw 3 touchdown passes last week. However, he is also on the COVID list. So keep an eye on this. He's worth a play going up against the bad Atlanta defense if he's playing. Number 4 is going to be Ben Roethlisberger taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, it was a Week 15 dud for Pittsburgh and Ben Roethlisberger. I think they're going to be behind. I think they're going to play catch up. I just hope his wide receivers actually show up in this game. Number 3 is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, easily the safest player on this list. If he could hit 3 touchdowns against Tennessee, he's going to be a smash play. I think he's a guarantee for 2, and maybe he rushes 1 in. I like Jimmy Garoppolo a lot this week, but there are 2 guys who I think have better upside. Number 2 could end up just costing me a tie, if you will. It's Tyler Huntley taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Lamar Jackson did not practice again today. I record this on Wednesday. If Tyler Huntley gets this start, he's my stream of the week, plain and simple. I just didn't want to put him at number 1 in case he didn't play. I think Huntley against the Bengals could absolutely feast. I think he could get sacks and turnovers. Like the Bengals could get that on him, and that might come up again later. But I think he's going to score points against the Bengals team that is also going to score points. So if it's not number 1, who is? I went with Justin Fields, and I get the narrative that it's scary to play a rookie quarterback going into Seattle for the first time. Fields is getting it done with his legs, over 350 rushing yards in the last 7 games. You want that kind of rushing upside. It's what makes him a step ahead of a lot of these other streamable quarterbacks. And Seattle's defense is not great. If Darnell Mooney can get loose for a touchdown, if Jimmy Graham could get a revenge touchdown, you're going to be very happy you started Justin Fields in this game. Moving on to tight end, I'm going to start with number 5. This is another weird one. It's Albert Okwuegbunam coming from Denver. He's the 2nd tight end behind Noah Fant. You probably hear most people just refer to him as Albert O because they're afraid of his last name. Even as the 2nd tight end, he is basically matching Noah Fant in targets over the last 4 games. And the Las Vegas Raiders absolutely bleed points to the tight end. It's a long shot, but if you are shooting for the stars, Okwuegbunam is a guy who I think could get you there. Number 4 is going to be Cole Kmet taking on the Seattle Seahawks. This was originally going to be James O'Shaughnessy, but it just came out that Jacksonville was going to activate Dan Arnold, and I don't love what that could mean for O'Shaughnessy. So I went with Cole Kmet, who has been very hit or miss this year. Seattle not great against the tight end. Kmet's been seeing a good target share, had a pretty nice game in Week 15. Let's see if he can continue it in Week 16. Number 3 is going to be Evan Ingram taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. With the injury issues the Giants are having at wide receiver, Ingram is seeing volume, and tight ends score touchdowns against the Eagles. It's that simple. Number 2 is going to be Jared Cook taking on the Houston Texans. Jared missed as the stream of the week last week, but he had just dropped a touchdown. His volume should see an uptick with Donald Parham likely to miss the rest of the season. He just needs to find the end zone, and there's a good chance that happens against Houston. And number 1 is going to be CJ Uzomah taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The great thing about Uzomah and the Ravens is they have a history, and in that history, Uzomah scored 2 touchdowns the last time they faced him. If you can get 2 touchdowns out of your stream of the week tight end, you are going to go ahead and see yourself in the finals. We're going to finish up with defenses, and I told you this was a sketchy list. Number 5 is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the New York Jets. Zach Wilson still gets sacked. Zach Wilson still turns the ball over. They don't have many weapons at wide receiver, and Jacksonville has showed us what they can do in a game against Buffalo this year. Maybe they just beat up on this division, and that's what we're going to look for. Number 4 is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens. As I mentioned, I do like Tyler Huntley, and obviously I like Lamar Jackson if he plays, but Jackson has been turning the ball over quite a bit, and the Bengals can get after the quarterback and maybe sack Huntley a few times. I think there's going to be points the Bengals can get elsewhere, even if they're allowing some points of their own. Number 3 is going to be the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Chicago Bears. Again, I told you it was a sketchy list. I am picking defenses going against the quarterbacks I picked. Let's keep the narratives what they are. It is a rookie quarterback coming to Seattle. It is going to be a bit of a shell shock. I think Fields can still get it done, especially with his legs, but that's not to leave out sacks and turnovers, and I think you could see both of those. Both things can be true. I don't like picking against my own players, but it is what it is in this crazy Week 16. Number 2 is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New York Giants. We have no idea who the Giants quarterback is going to be, but we can guarantee they're going to be bad. Philly just needs to play better. The Giants are going to give them every opportunity for sacks and turnovers. They just need to take advantage of that. And number 1 should not be a surprise if you looked at the schedule. It's the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Houston Texans. I like Davis Mills as a player. The fact of the matter is he's still not beating up on fantasy defenses. The Chargers have some injuries of their own to contend with. They might not be a super smash play, but they're still going to be a good play this week. So that's it. My streams of the week are Justin Fields taking on Seattle, CJ Uzomah taking on Baltimore, and the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Houston Texans. Hopefully they get you the amount of points you need to win. Hopefully you have a great holiday, great Christmas, a great trip to the fantasy finals, unless you're playing me. Good luck this week.